Hello, little creatures. The video that you didn't even know that you needed is right here. We're going to be presenting some powerful progressions, some astrology information about how is the United States affected by this eclipse. We hear, how are you affected? Which go and watch that video, find out your sign, go and give it a comment, tell us what you think. But this video is how is the United States going to be affected, and thus the world, because the United States is such a powerful player in this end time scenario. So Isaac, I would love for you to unveil these secrets so our little creatures can have the best information going forward in building their Ascension 5D timeline energy and all of that. So.
Yes. So we had a super interesting sort of part one of this video where we went through Donald Trump's chart and we looked at both his transits and his secondary progressions to show how it's predicted his rise to power in November 2016, and then also how we can predict what might happen to him during this current April 8th total solar eclipse. So definitely watch that one, and it gives a bit of explanation to what the difference is between transits and progressions and how they can both be used as predictive techniques. So now we're going to do this for the United States of America natal chart as well, to try and see firstly, how significant this eclipse is for America. We know that already because it's the Great American Eclipse. It's sort of got that cross that's forming across America, 2017 total solar eclipse, which crossed over one half, basically split America in two, which is funny because it was the first eclipse after Donald Trump was elected. And we sort of have seen this ideological split in America since then. So we had that. And now this one is basically making an X and crossing over that line and going up through Mexico, across the border, through Texas, and then sort of up to the northeast of Canada. So obviously very significant visually, symbolically for America. We can see even more how significant it is if we look at these charts. And we can start to see some very obvious themes about disruption, transformation, new beginnings really taking shape quite strongly. Just to start with, we're going to use the most agreed upon natal chart for America, which is 4th of July 1776, and we're using, it's called the Sibley chart, and we're using the birth time of 5:10 p.m. and that places the rising sign in tropical Sagittarius and the sun in tropical Cancer. And so we get this sort of homeland, protective of the home vibe coming through very, very strongly, obviously with Cancer there. And there's actually a stellium in Cancer, Mercury, Sun, Jupiter, and Venus. So very strong Cancer energy there. You can see straight away going on. Also three planets in the 7th house. So very concerned with relationships. United States is very much concerned about how it relates, how it interacts. These social agreements and contracts it makes with other countries is central to the purpose and the existence of America, for sure. Just a few small things. We won't go too much into the chart. What we want to do is see how we can use progressions and transits to look at this eclipse and to see what might be happening. So a few things to start with. So progressions, just to refresh, if you haven't seen the first video, it's really, really cool, very interesting, almost mind-bending sort of like technique in astrology, where from the time of a natal chart, if we move that forward one day, so the sun's basically moved forward 1 degree, that equals the chart of a person 1 year into their life. So 1 day equals 1 year. So each degree the sun moves is 1 year in the person's life. So if we take a natal chart 30 days after birth, that will be that person's life almost 30 years after they were born. So 30 days equals 30 years. So with the progression chart of the United States, so we're going from 1976 here, and so we're going forward 224 plus another 24, so basically 250 years. So we're sort of doing 250 days, which equals 250 years. So we'll see that the sun has moved 250 degrees around the zodiac. So it's 250 degrees away from where it was in their natal chart. Hopefully that makes sense.
And this is probably one of the only videos on YouTube that's doing the progression thing. We really try to channel what spirit wants to be doing when we do these videos. So please give this video a like and comment and become a member if you resonate with this.
And please share as well if you find this helpful. Now this is really sort of foundational astrological knowledge that is important for everyone to understand, to start to interpret and decode events as they're happening. And astrology provides really excellent context and grounding, archetypal grounding for things that are going on. Hopefully you'll see that come out here. So we can look at the United States progressions chart, and you'll see that the sun in their natal chart, it's in the 8th house. And in the 250 years then, it's gone cross over the midheaven, cross over the ascendant, and it's now right down at the bottom of the chart, essentially about 5 degrees away from being conjunct to the IC, which is the lowest part of the chart.
Whoa. What's the lowest part of the chart represent for people?
It's the most personal part of the chart. So it's the start of the 4th house. The 4th house is where emotions, the domains of life where emotion starts to come in. So it's about family, it's about home.
So this is like heart chakra stuff. This is like the United States' heart chakra energy.
Very deep, like reckoning with its roots, its spiritual, cultural roots. So traditions, ancestors, lineage, culture, all these things currently based on this progression chart are being activated. But what's really interesting, so you've got the sun right conjunct the IC. It's exactly conjunct the moon. So basically, this chart is showing a new moon because the sun and the moon are exactly conjunct right near the IC of America in the 4th house. What's a new moon? A new moon is the end and the start of the lunar cycle. It's new beginnings. That's its sort of fundamental archetypal signification, I guess, the new moon. It's sort of the end and the start. So it's when we're planting seeds that we want to then grow and manifest across a lunar cycle. So what we're seeing here in the USA chart is essentially new beginnings, a completely new beginning in terms of 4th house things. So again, what's come before, like ancestry, culture, heritage, roots, all these sort of things about what informs our past and what informs our emotions, our emotional connection. That's all. We're essentially getting a refresh and a new beginning and a new cycle in the United States 4th house. So really interesting there. That's one thing to keep in mind, and we'll see how that also plays into its natal transits as well, which we'll get to very soon. But a few other things I want to sort of point out. So you see a few, because we've had 250 years here, you'll see the sun and the moon have both moved on a fair bit, but so have some of the other planets as well. Not so much the outer planets, so you'll see they're pretty much still in the same position that they were, but Mars, Venus, Mercury have all moved on. And so what we see right now is Mars, so the planet of war, aggression, self-assertion, is conjunct to 2 degrees the USA's natal Saturn. So we have a Mars-Saturn conjunction in their progressions. And we see right now, which is interesting, this eclipse is in the midst of a Mars-Saturn conjunction. So we see the same flavor in the United States progressions that is in this current eclipse event. So we have this Mars-Saturn link between America and the eclipse and what's happening now. So very interesting. And this is the two malefics we're talking about here, Mars and Saturn. So generally not good, often to do with adversarial war posturing is one thing that often comes up. Also very intense restrictions and disciplining. So we think Mars wants to assert itself, be active, whereas Saturn holds it back, and this sort of like grinding to a halt vibe is often what we see with Mars and Saturn. And it was Mars and Saturn conjunction which initiated the lockdowns in March of 2020 with the global bug. So you see like intense authoritarian restrictions on people being able to express themselves. So like archetypally, Mars Saturn is like a lockdown sort of vibe. So interesting little link there. So sort of this is the flavor now of America, and it ties in so well to this eclipse because we have that same conjunction going on. So there are a few framings to then look at, to sort of see this current moment through as well. So let's move on to USA's transits. The most obvious one, and you might have already heard of this, is that America is going through its Pluto return. So the cycle of Pluto is about 250 years. It takes 250 years for Pluto to move around the zodiac and to basically return to the same spot that it was originally. So the United States is in the middle of its Pluto return. What's Pluto? Getting to the bottom, like unearthing secrets, unearthing things which are hidden, and transforming it, completely transforming what the foundations of what something was created on. So a Pluto return for America is basically uprooting its cultural traditional foundations and transforming it into something else. So basically have this going on since sort of almost the start of 2020. So in that progression chart, you'll see tropically the main Pluto return year was 2022. But it's still very much ongoing now. It's only a few degrees past Pluto, and it's going to come back. It's going to retrograde back to even closer over the next sort of 6 months, back closer towards its natal position, and then it will move on. So we're almost coming to the final unearthing of the USA's Pluto return. So again, this is happening at the same time as in their progress chart. You've got this new moon, new beginning going on. So you can see how you've got the progression chart and the transit chart linking up and showing almost the same thing, this new beginning, moving on from what the foundations, what the fourth house foundations were of America, and Pluto transforming it into something different. So very obvious sort of sync there, I think. Another thing, and a few other slightly potentially ominous sort of syncs going on now. So if you look at in Donald Trump's chart in the last video, we showed how in this eclipse, his south node K2, which is about sort of past, very karmically heavy, it was conjunct his natal Chiron, and the eclipse, which is a Chiron eclipse, was opposite his natal Chiron. So his Chiron energy is really going off and quite heavy. So that was the theme of his eclipse transits. We can see with America, the south node is now on the degree of their natal Saturn. So we've got, in the progressions, we've got Mars over their natal Saturn, and in the transits, we've got the south node over their natal Saturn. So this idea of there's a lot of Saturnian difficult Saturnian energy going on with America right now. So K2, Mars, Saturn are extremely difficult. 3 of the most difficult transits to have. And this is all going on right now in America at the same time as their Pluto return. We also have a few other things. So the position of the moon during this eclipse, which will be 19 degrees of Aries. So that's where the eclipse will be occurring. The natal position of America's Chiron. So again, this is a Chiron eclipse we're talking about here. The natal position of the United States Chiron was 20 degrees Aries. So this eclipse is occurring within 1 degree of United States of America's natal Chiron. So this is their Pluto return and also a Chiron return at the same time. Very heavy stuff to do with wounding, the opportunity for healing, yes, but immense unearthing of trauma to initiate this transformation. This is what these transits are telling us. If you sort of start to put all this together, we have this new moon, progressed new moon in the 4th house. So new beginnings to do with what the foundations, what the roots are of America. Combine that with Pluto return, transformation, unearthing, transforming what the basis of America is. These alignments, these conjunctions with America's natal Saturn. So tests, restrictions, trials, difficulties. lots of activation there. And then the Chiron, the natal Chiron getting activated during this Chiron return, marked by a Chiron eclipse 1 degree away from America's natal sort of wound, their core wound, where Chiron is. This is where the eclipse is occurring. So just very intense, a lot of intense stuff. You can see how powerful this eclipse is and this moment is for the state of America. It's going to be completely different. It's going to be in a few years' time, once these transits are moved on, America presumably won't look anything like it does now. It'll be a wounded nation. It will be a transformed nation, but hopefully it will be a nation starting on the process of a profound form of healing, which is ultimately what Chiron is. Yes, it has a wound, it is wounded, and that wound can't be healed. But by being forced to reckon with that wound, it can then go through that healing process and actually bring about healing externally and start to heal the world, which is arguably not something America has been doing recently. It's probably been doing the opposite of that. And so hopefully after this really intense period in its history, it will start to actually play a more active and purposeful healing role in the world rather than a wounding role in the world, you might say. So that's how I would interpret it. And then again, hopefully you can see how you can use both progressions and transits to look into an event and looking to see what its implications might be for a person or for a country or for any other entity you can have a natal chart for.
Wow, glorious, magical. Everyone, thank you so much for spending your time with us. We are eternally grateful. We really appreciate your support. Please consider supporting Isaac and I to continue to make these videos by becoming a Patreon member, where we give one-on-one readings. You can ask your questions and we channel some amazing information as you chart for these very uncertain times and seek to, as you seek to spiritualize yourself. Please, the comment section is a place where you can make community. Our Patreon, we're thinking about making a Discord. If you're not already subscribed, we want you to be part of this family. We have so many big plans for you and all the people that we're building, all the people we're building with. So thank you for joining. Stay very mindful, very inward, very, spiritual and safe during the eclipse. We want you to be mindful. These are very chaotic energies. So it's very good to go inward, to be very careful with how you spend this time. Don't take risks. Don't do anything important. It might not even be the best idea to be traveling for the eclipse. And pray for the United States, wherever you are in the world, because what happens in the United States ripples throughout the world. So we would love for you to also be praying, staying strong. So have an amazing evening or day. Peace, many blessings to you.